All right, Mason, let's move it along.
Okay.
Top Gun Maverick has thundered into cinemas, Mason, much like the movie Thundercats, which is not out yet. Anyway, it's got a $152 million budget, this Top Gun Maverick. Did you know?
I did not know that. That's quite low.
And they think it's, is it? I guess it is.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, because it's not 200 million, which is the standard.
Yeah, which is the standard now, yeah. I guess they don't have to pay...
Me.
They don't have to pay you, certainly, but they don't have to pay a Downey and an Evans and a Hemsworth and a et cetera, et cetera, et
they
cetera, et
pay
cetera.
Miles Teller, Jennifer Connelly, and Tom Cruise, and nobody else.
That's right. Everybody else is doing it for the exposure.
Yeah. But they reckon it's going to top $150 million in the US on its 4-day opening weekend, and it's going to make about $110 million internationally. It's huge. It's a very, very big and successful movie already and will probably continue to be so.
People are responding very well to it.
Yeah, but they can't respond to something without understanding what the story was.
Oh,
and that's
no,
what
James.
you're here to tell us about.
Well, Tom Cruise, he plays Pete.
I don't like how they call him Pete. Everyone's calling him Pete.
Well, he plays Pete, and Pete's a great Top Gun pilot, or he was.
More.
Yeah, but now he's getting a bit long in the tooth. He's still good. He's still the best.
He's getting long in his big center tooth that he has.
That's right.
Look at Tom Cruise's smile. One of his teeth is in the middle of his head. Everybody look at it.
That's right.
Yeah.
But he should be the king of the Navy at this
Yeah.
point. But he's not the king of the Navy.
He should be the cock of the block.
He should be the cock of the block, but he's just some bit of dirt. He's just a grub in the dirt still.
Well, no,
why is that?
No, he's doing speed tests.
He's doing speed tests, internet speed tests.
Yeah. No, plane tests.
He's
Mason.
doing plane tests.
Let's be serious for once.
That's all right.
This is about our boys in the Navy.
I am, but I'm always serious.
Okay, you're right.
You wait till I get a bit goofy. When I get loosey goosey, there's gonna be trouble. But
Please
then
continue.
they got to bring it back to Top Gun
But why?
for Top Gun related reasons.
Because they have to get him to do the Death Star mission. They got to
Yes.
do the trench run mission from the original Star Wars movie.
That's right.
But with actual planes as opposed to TIE fighters and such.
Exactly right, yes.
And X-Wings.
And he's got to teach the next generation. And he's got to pass the torch to the next generation of Top Gun and also back to himself. That's
It's true.
because the franchise wouldn't
It's
exist
the,
without Top Gun, without Tom Cruise, I think.
It's the Obama giving himself a medal meme, you know?
Yeah, it
It's
absolutely
that
is, yeah.
situation.
Yeah, but he's he's gonna bring in this new crew, all these hot shots.
Yeah.
In a way, this is Hot Shots Part Deux.
It is in a way, isn't it? Do you think this could open the door to another Hot Shots movie? Because I think it very well could.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, Charlie Sheen he's done terrible things and he's not well. So maybe not with him.
Maybe he could whatever that character's name, Topper Harley is that character. Maybe Topper Harley could
pass the torch
to the kid from 2.5 Men.
There we go.
He could be his protege.
Fantastic.
But anyway, there's a new crew of hot shots, and they're all, what's this old stupid dumb loser? What's he gonna?
We hate this guy.
This guy sucks. What's he gonna teach us except how to be a big loser?
Isn't that right, Gramps? He's like, actually, check out this jacket I have and a motorbike.
Whoa!
Where'd he get that?
Yeah, and then he's got to deal with the demons of his past, and he's got
the goose of his past.
got to deal with the goose of his past. He's got to reconnect with a long lost love.
Yes, but not the
Not the one from the previous movie, a different one.
Though she is mentioned. This one is mentioned in the previous movie.
I
We can
see.
talk about it. Yeah. Anyway, what did you think of it?
I liked it. I had a lot of fun with it.
I liked it a lot, yeah.
This is a big time Hollywood movie. We're saying this as people who haven't. I've seen the original a couple of times, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe not. The only time I've seen it all in the one go, I think, was quite recently when we did a commentary about it. But it's one of those. It's a movie where.
And I didn't,
even if you haven't seen it, like the tropes of it have kind of seeped into your consciousness over a period of time.
And I was never really a big fan, and then watching it again at the end of it. And even though you're not really watching it because you're talking at a movie while you're watching it, in the end of the commentary I talk about, I'm like, is this good? Like, I can see why people like it, but I don't know whether I like any of this. So going into this movie, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. It's just not really my kind of thing. But you know what? It's really great. It's good. It's pretty entertaining.
It is very entertaining.
With a few caveats. But
I think so. It's certainly.
I think it's better than the first one.
It's definitely better than the first one, and it's the aerial action is spectacular.
Yeah.
It's got a good human drama to it.
Yes.
It is not unpredictable.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But I think that is part and parcel of doing this sort of legacy.
It never
sequel.
felt like, okay, here we go, they're going to do the thing and whatever. Like, even though you know what's happening, it never felt like this is a real drag.
Yeah.
They should call this Top Gun, I'm having a boring time. It didn't feel like that for me.
Yeah.
And I think one of the strengths of this as opposed to the first one, two things. Even though I know they did a lot of fighter pilot stuff, rewatching it recently, there's a lot of very quick cuts in action between the model work and the coupled with the actual flying that they did and like the in-cockpit stuff that they filmed in front of various screens and also real flying. All that is good, but it's very jumpy and it's kind of harder to get a handle on where everybody is and what's happening. And that's also because we watched it and we're talking at it, no doubt. But the action is so clean and clear and obviously done for real. I think pretty much all of it.
I mean, if it's not all done for real, you can't tell.
You definitely
If
can't
anything was
tell,
done on a volume or a soundstage,
Yeah.
you can't tell.
On top of that, this one, unlike the first one, has a through line of what they're supposed to be doing. Whereas in the original one,
They just graduate.
They graduate. I mean, Goose dies and he's like, I'm sad. I don't know. And then he comes back. And then in the last 10 minutes, they're like, we think there's some Russians or whatever. And then they have a dogfight.
Yes.
But it's kind of unconnected to everything else which is going on. Whereas in this, it's
The
building
mission-
up to this really tense and impossible mission. Which really helps.
And you can feel the G's, man, you know?
Certainly can feel the G's. Do you want to talk a little bit about how they made this, Mason? Because I looked into this. As mentioned.
Cameras?
There was some cameras involved.
Interesting.
They had at
Makeup.
least two. Makeup, food, like they need food on set.
Camaraderie?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Did you feel that?
Camembert?
No.
Cheese? What?
Not for all the abs, Mason.
No, that's very true. God, I hope they treated themselves to some camembert afterwards.
So they-
maybe I'll get some camembert after this.
They had to reshoot the...
I'll never be in a bloody Top Gun. Tell you that much. I'll never play double football on the beach.
Oh, yeah, double football. Twice football, I think they call it. Oh, let's talk about the shirtless football. So as a homage to the volleyball scene, they do it on the beach. They don't have to do it. They play double football, twice football.
They're basically doing it on the beach.
So Glenn Powell, who's in this, he's the guy. He's Hangman in this.
Oh yeah. So in this we have of course Tom Cruise.
Yes.
And we have Rooster, played by Miles Teller, who is sort of he is the son of Goose from the original movie.
Yep.
And as is tradition for a Top Gun movie now, he needs a rival. He needs a smarmy rival. So we've got Glenn Powell in that role as the Iceman kind of character.
Absolutely. So he said,
He's great, I think. I think they're both
agree.
I think they're both very good. And the initial appearance of these characters, I feel, could not be more cliched. Like they all roll up into a bar
and they're like, what's this
look at all
jerk
our
doing here?"
personalities kind of thing.
I've got glasses.
Yeah, and then one of them's like, oh no, here comes Rooster. He's got the most personality of them all, as evidenced by his Hawaiian shirt.
And mustache.
And he's got sunglasses on inside, and I'm like, oh, here we go. But you settle into that, and it's
Because you can tell them apart.
yeah, it's delightful. But you get, he's good. And I think the supporting cast who get significantly less, airtime. The
Airtime.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
The rest of the Top Gun recruits, they're there, but they're,
They do a pretty good job.
They do a pretty good job.
Of what they are given.
Yeah, and I think they all have sort of a good interplay.
Yeah.
We've got the.
You understand that, like, the history they've had together and what they think of each other, because they say it to each other and quite often.
But I think Glenn Powell is a good smarmy guy.
I agree. You know what he is? He's what Scott Eastwood was supposed to be.
I see.
That's a mean thing to say about Scott Eastwood.
So the son of Clint Eastwood.
Yes, he was supposed to be.
Glenn Powell is now the son of Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood hand typed a letter out, and he's like, Glenn Powell is my son now.
I don't hate Scott Eastwood at all.
No. But what have you seen him in recently?
Fast and Furious 4 years ago or whatever.
No, you didn't see him in that.
Oh, you're right. Anyway, he said we shot at the football scene, and that night we all went out for milkshakes and tater tots, just like splurge, and everybody grabbed a beer. And a week later, Tom was like, we got to shoot it again. It wasn't good enough. We're going to shoot it again. And then everybody was back at the gym again, day and night. There's some ripped bods in this.
Including Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
He's looking incredible for 90 years old,
150
however old he is. He's looking great. I didn't think that. I thought they honest.
He didn't think he'd go shirtless?
But then I'm like, of course he would go shirtless because he
has to.
He's at least some of the recent movies he's done are just an excuse for him to like clown on younger like stars
in the making of it, also within the movie.
Yeah. But like it's sort of, and we do obviously in Mission Impossible Fallout, it's him versus
Henry Cavill,
who's just a mountain of a man, and he's clowning on that guy. In this, of course, it is the evil Dean in this movie is played by John Hamm. Cyclone.
Yeah.
We learned his call sign is Cyclone at the end of the
that old fuddy-duddy John Hamm.
And look, I don't think this is a spoiler to say, like, we get to the end of the movie and, as oftentimes in this sort of thing, some looks are exchanged and, some salutes and what have you. And there's a moment where I'm like, they should really just dump a wheelbarrow full of manure on top of John Hamm, because that's what the fuddy-duddy Dean gets,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
God, that button-down nerd John Hamm, thinking he knows what's best for the Top Gun Academy. Anyways, the flying. So, yeah, apparently it was all real aircraft and no CGI. The actors playing pilots not only had to film themselves, so they had
just on their phones?
Well, they had to go up in a fighter jet. Nobody flew, including Tom Cruise, the fighter jets, because you're not allowed to unless you're in the Navy, which, wouldn't surprise me if Tom Cruise
Because all these planes are two-seaters.
Yes. They managed to put in, like, IMAX camera rigs that you could fit into a cockpit. And,
okay. Yeah. And it's just the actual pilot is not seen.
No, that's right.
But they're all in the air.
They're all in the air.
Like every time they're acting like, oh, we're going to pull up or whatever, they're actually in the pilot seat. Okay, interesting.
So they had to also turn their own cameras on and off.
Okay.
They weren't being fed any lines or anything while they were up there. They were just on their own with the pilot. They'd have to adjust their own makeup and all their own gear so they look like camera ready.
That's really interesting.
It would take an hour to get anything back as well.
So you might go up there and you come back down. They're like, you left the lens cap on.
Well, Miles Teller apparently recorded over some of his footage as well. So yeah, he did that.
I feel that shouldn't have been an option for those guys. They shouldn't have given their equipment that capability.
You're probably right.
You recorded an episode of America's Funniest Home Videos on top of your footage. Miles, what were you doing, mate?
So what they do, the director had to wait on the ground for hours sometimes for the actors to come back with the footage, and adjustments would be made after viewing the footage, and the actors would then have to go back up for another take. There's a moment where they have to do kind of a spin barrel roll over a mountain at one point.
Yeah, right.
And there's you see it, Miles Teller in that hits the roof of the cockpit when it happens.
Okay.
And apparently it's
because he wasn't
strapped in properly, and he's like, oh, they can't use that, but they put it in. They're like, no, that's the best take. So that's,
wow.
And you really see they're trying to say lines as their faces are melting with
with the G-forces.
Of the whole thing. And it really adds to it.
Yeah,
you know?
that's really interesting. And there would be a certain tension because, like, obviously, but, there is, in a lot of the time when people are filming films, there's that moment of like, okay, we've got 2 hours of daylight.
Yeah.
You have to, what have you. Imagine, like, you're up there filming, you don't know what's working, you don't know if you did a line correctly, the guy, they're running out of daylight, you got more people in planes down on the ground, your pilot's like, we're running out of fuel, so if you want to actually eject, we might have to eject from this.
Well, speaking of, it cost per hour to use one of the fighter jets $11,374. So, yeah, every time you went up, it's costing you money.
Right.
But I guess they still managed to do it on a relatively modest budget for what this is.
That's true.
But I guess everything outside of the flying, it's not super complicated, really.
No, there's no car chases.
Yeah.
There's no single shot fight scenes or anything like that.
Where they have to, like that.
There's exactly. They don't have to fight it. They don't have to street fight a gang or something.
There's a bit where, like, they'll have to land on a aircraft carrier, or there's a bit where he buzzes the tower kind of again and stuff like that. But yeah, also he's short. Do you notice?
And they just let him be short.
They're just like, he's short now.
Yeah, that's interesting, right?
Well, because he's short in the first one as well.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't mind that at all. It's like,
that's interesting because they've sort of gone, okay, well, before he was the biggest star in the world, we're just going to have him be short. But then as his career has sort of gone up into the stratosphere, so have the lifts in his shoes.
And everybody around him has gotten smaller.
Yeah. But now they're like, well, it'll be a continuity issue if he was tall all of a sudden.
And he's old, so he'll have to be even shorter than
we busted you out of the Navy, Pete, because you got that weird leg lengthening surgery and you couldn't fly the planes anymore.
Couldn't fit in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Your feet would stick out the bottom.
Apparently a lot of pilots are quite short. A lot of Navy
you have
pilots.
to. It's like F1 drivers.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, you have to be like a tiny little person. But so they have to blow up like a uranium base.
Enrichment facility, yeah.
Yes. Who are the bad guys? We'll talk about it in spoilers, I guess. But only the US of A can have uranium. Nobody else. Nobody else is going to have any goddamn.
Oh, that's Uncle Sam's uranium. Yum, 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 yum. He's there in his top hat, just chomping on that uranium.
Another thing,
on that uranium cake.
Another thing that surprised me about this is he's kissing women in movies again.
Yeah,
he hasn't been doing it for a while, and it seemed at first they were going to avoid that.
Yeah, right.
And they kind of shy away from it a few times, but he sleeps with a woman, and at the end they do a big kiss together.
Yeah,
and so Tom Cruise is kissing woman on film again, which he hasn't been doing for like 10 years. Not in a successful movie, I should say.
No, that's true. Well, here's so soon we're getting Mission Impossible 7 and 8,
yep,
which presumably is finishing off the trilogy of not the trilogy, finishing off the
The 8 movies?
Yeah, the 8-movie trilogy of Mission Impossible. And this was more of a this is a human drama. Do you think the era of Tom Cruise as an action star, like maybe he's like, I will launch myself into space by accident. So maybe this is it.
Maybe he is.
Maybe he's like segueing back into your Jerry Maguire's.
Well, no, because I saw an interview with him where he was in it's the longest he's ever, 36 years after the first one. It's the longest he's ever waited to do anything, obviously. It's pretty unusual. And that there was a joke about oh, maybe you'll do the next one in the next 36 years. And he was very serious at one point. He's like, I will be here in 36 years.
Oh my God.
So he'll be making movies for
How old will he be then?
Well, he's 58 now. So what's that, 94?
He'll be 94.
Yeah. But the love interest, so it's Penny Benjamin.
Okay.
And she was apparently mentioned in
Penben, they call
Penben.
her. Every time they call her Penben. The instruction was when Penben's not on screen, everybody's asking, where's Penben?
She was at school because it's mentioned that he dated an admiral's daughter in the first movie, but she would have been 16 if it was actually Jennifer Connelly.
Oh, I see,
at the time. But I don't think she's supposed to be that much younger.
No,
than
that's
him.
true. Yeah.
Because he's however old he's supposed to be. But the previous love interest, I found an interview with Kelly McGillis. Also, we said Kelly McGinnis that entire commentary.
I did it on purpose.
We both did a parody, and you all fell for our parody.
It was a good satire, I thought. Yeah.
She was asked in 2019 why she wasn't contacted, and she said it's like this is their entertainment tonight. She said it's like
keep going.
She said it was like she wasn't contacted. It was likely because I'm old and fat, and I look age appropriate for what my age is, and that is not what the whole scene is about. I'd much rather feel absolutely secure in my skin and who and what I am at my age, as opposed to placing a value on all that other stuff. So we mentioned this in the commentary, but they didn't really get along at the time.
Yeah,
and they were photographed together at the Prince of Persia premiere in 2010.
Yeah.
And so she just doesn't do this stuff anymore.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Which is, I understand.
But at least they went, let's take a reference from the previous movie. At least they didn't recast.
Yeah.
Because that's. Do you remember when they?
It seems like they killed a bunch of people off screen as well. Meg Ryan's dead. They're just like, Meg Ryan's dead. Yeah. Your mum, Rooster, is Meg Ryan, and she's dead.
That's right.
Yeah.
She's mega dead.
Yeah, she got megged. She got to the meg.
She got the megged. Oh no.
Yeah. Spoilers?
Yes, I'm going to say best movie ever.
Agreed.
Good fun. Okay, so one thing that is, which we decided not to talk about pre-spoilers, is that there's an expository thread that runs through the entire movie that is notable for its absence. And once you notice it or it's pointed out to you, it starts to feel a little bit weird. And I guess it was also in the first one. But
yes, it felt less obvious in the first one though.
Yeah, it's very so.
It was more kind of like it's Russians,
it's a symptom of movie making and Hollywood in the modern era, I think. But also, like you said, a throwback to the original one. So in this movie, the enemy have built a uranium enrichment facility in an underground bunker, and the enemy have placed it in sort of some very precarious terrain, a mountain range and all this very steep mountain range, all this sort of stuff. Yeah. The enemy have fortified it with state-of-the-art radar and countermeasures and surface-to-air missile batteries. And the enemy
They've got fifth-generation stealth fighters.
They have fifth-generation stealth fighters. Who are the enemy? Nobody knows.
So I looked into this.
I think it's Iran, but
I don't know if it is.
Okay.
So it could be Iran because that's apparently the only place where there's F-14s still operational. Yeah. And they have a bunch of F-14s.
Oh, yeah, that's a spoiler, which is it's
we're
good.
In spoilers.
We're in spoilers, yeah.
Yes.
So,
which is the plane he flies in the
original F-14
one.
Tomcat. Yeah, and I think in a worse movie, I would have been like, how can you possibly shoehorn in?
Yeah.
He flew a Tomcat in the first movie, so you're gonna have them magically have a Tomcat in the second movie. But yeah,
I think this does nostalgia the same way that Cobra Kai does it. Yeah. It's all the things that you recognize, but done in a way that doesn't feel like oh god.
Yeah, you know? But so once you've realized this, it's weird that, and we'll get to who it is, but it's weird that they're always referred to as the enemy.
Yeah.
A few times they mentioned the enemy has this. We've got to do a mission to defeat this enemy. And nobody in the movie goes, what enemy? Who specifically?
Yeah.
Because you'd think they would. And the more it happens, it feels like if you were watching a dystopian sci-fi movie where characters are like, you have to defeat the enemy, like the third act reveal would be like the enemy's yourself or whatever, or the enemy is that episode of Black Mirror where they have to kill those bugs, but it turns out the bugs are refugees or something. Yeah. It'd be like that. The reveal would be that the enemy actually isn't the enemy, but you're being tricked into fighting the enemy. But in this, they just keep going the enemy, and everybody's like, well, we better do the mission and get the enemy, because back in 1986 or whenever it was, American movies were for Americans, really, and it didn't matter if the implication was heavy that you were fighting the Soviet Union or whatever it is.
Nah.
Or at the time, if they decided they'd make it the Chinese, they would just make it the Chinese. But now everything is another market, and if you want to make $1 billion, you have to. And also, it's a case of like Russia, the government is doing bad stuff right now, and their military is doing stuff, but the Russian people aren't doing that. No,
exactly.
They're just people who want to go out and maybe
they could
watch
be said
a movie.
of any nation.
It was that, or in the Chinese or whatever. And it's like, they just want to go out and see a movie, and it would be odd if you went to see it. You're like, oh, Top Gun, I like Tom Cruise, and it's like, these Chinese, they're coming in. We're gonna kill all these Chinese.
They don't need uranium. We're gonna get all the uranium.
But I was gonna say, so
it could be Russia or China, depending on because who the planes belong to.
But also Russians and the Chinese already have all the uranium they want.
Yes.
So like they don't really need an enrichment facility.
So it apparently like the official word on this is it's a
Afghanistan. My goodness.
No, it's a rogue nation.
Oh, okay, yeah.
With just a bunch of very high-tech weaponry.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I like the first movie. You just fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't seen the first one in a long time, and I'm like, oh yeah, they are fighting the Russians. But again, when you watch it, they never actually say it's the Russians.
No.
I don't think. And in this one, I imagine most
you also don't ever see anyone's face.
Yeah,
so you can't be like, where's that person from? There's no chance you can do that.
Yeah, so I imagine a lot of people will go into this and maybe won't even think about it, or they'll just go, oh, it's probably Russia.
Whatever.
Yeah, but like, it's interesting because they're in a bind, because if they say it's Afghanistan, or in fact some other, or even if they went, oh, it's just a terrorist organization, it sort of breaks the reality that this is in our real world. Because if you go, if you invent like a Middle Eastern country or something, or a Russian adjacent country, people go, well, that's not real. So what universe is this kind of thing? But then you go, okay, well, if it's a terrorist organization, how did they get those 5th generation fighter planes?
Yes.
And who did they get to fly them?
Yep.
Etc.
Where they get all the uranium? How did it get to this point?
Yeah.
This terrorist, because terrorist organizations, they're not outfitted like this.
Yeah.
Which is why they have to say it's a nation of some sort.
Yeah. And I guess it could be like, if it were 20 years ago, you could go, okay, it's a former Soviet country that's broken off, and they just happen to have some leftover weapons in the armory.
But you can't to take on a modern US Air Force.
Yeah,
because the fact the US are like, they've got better planes than us. It's like, how the fuck did that happen? What do you mean?
I'll answer that. The F-35 is unflyable.
Oh.
So it doesn't work.
Because of the one wing.
Yeah. And if in case you're wondering, yes, Australia has bought a bunch. Yes, they've spent billions of dollars on it, just to keep you updated on how good the Australian government is. They bought into it after it was declared a disaster.
Yeah, that's really good, isn't it?
Really good, I think. Yeah. The thing is, that's not what this movie is about. No. Really. It's not even, the air action is spectacular, but it's not even really about that. It's about, like we said, it's about getting old and making amends for the mistakes of your past, and passing along your knowledge to the next generation and also yourself.
And making sure you're the only one left alive from the previous movie.
Yeah, definitely.
You're the only one left. Yeah. Everyone else is dead. Meg Ryan is dead. Val Kilmer is dead.
Val Kilmer's in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he returns as Iceman, at first in text form. And
Admiral Iceman?
Yes.
That's right, Iced Man. I didn't misspeak.
I would never correct you. Not
Admiral Iced Coffee Man.
So but we end up getting a scene.
Admiral Iced Vovo Man.
We end up getting a scene between Iced Man and Maverick, and it's because he's typing it out because, like Val Kilmer in real life, he's had throat cancer and
tracheotomies.
Yes, I don't know whether he can speak at all. Well, he does in this movie, but I don't know whether that was in some kind of enhancement, because I also saw that they're trying to recreate his voice using archival footage and recording. So I don't know where they were at by the time they filmed this 3 years ago.
But I thought it was a very touching scene.
I thought
it was
so
nice,
too.
Yeah. Not only the two iconic characters, but also two iconic actors.
And they're just blokes. They're like, we're blokes. Let's hug.
I'm wearing a scarf. That's the thing a bloke can do.
A bloke can wear a scarf?
Yeah, you can drive a motorcycle and I can wear a scarf. I'm Iced Man.
Yeah.
I'm Admiral Iced Man.
Iced Man. So the original movie was responsible for a 500% increase in Navy recruitment at the time. And I think this movie...
And this one, ISIS recruitment.
What?
Yeah.
Because of Iceman?
Yes.
No, Iceman.
No,
He wasn't in ISIS, though.
people aren't hearing it correctly because of the, you know how
They
audio.
thought Tom Cruise went to visit his old friend from ISIS.
That's correct.
Oh, no.
Yes.
You should watch the first movie before you see this.
You know, but,
But even then, maybe you think you joined ISIS in between
Afterwards,
movies.
yes.
Oh, God.
It's bad for everyone. That's why the audio in theaters is so bad these days. You know? And they put the recruiting stations outside the cinemas.
For ISIS?
Yes.
Oh, no.
It's not technically illegal.
It isn't?
Nope.
I think that would be illegal. I think that would be shut down,
It
wouldn't
says not a terrorist organisation on the booth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like saying in a video game.
That's right. The booth says, hey, do you want to join ISIS in Minecraft? So,
But on Navy recruitment, so this was all done through the Pentagon's cooperation. Via them, someone from there said, it does not have to be a love letter to the military, which it is anyway, but it needs to uphold the integrity, of the military. And it's certainly...
he apologised.
I was apologising to the military, but I said...
Right. Well, that's
not
very
to
noble
you.
of you, actually.
But I don't think this works as a recruitment tool in the same way that the original one does, because the world is vastly different.
Yeah.
And the information that you can receive about other countries in the world and why wars are fought and why the military-industrial complex exists, it kind of... Freedom, but it kind of will put a damper on
I agree,
lot of that. And
Yeah,
I think people are also more realistic about, I can't just go and fly a plane.
yeah.
There's a lot of steps between joining up and then getting to be one of the
Being
very
the
few
Top Gun,
people
sure,
that get
yeah.
to be a Top Gun.
But the opening crawl does say, you know,
No,
no, and then it just says, remember, everyone gets to be a Top Gun.
sign up to our ISIS recruitment center.
Oh, no!
My goodness. Anyway, so at the end, in their big mission that they have to do, Tom Cruise is showing them how to be a proper pilot.
Yeah, he's
they
gotta do
thought
that
they were
trench run.
being good pilots, but he came in and he said, "I'm destroying you all in not for real, but just using techniques, fighter pilot techniques."
That's right.
And there's some spectacular flying about.
Spooktacular fight, as you
Yes,
say.
and he gets out of the military at one point. They're like, "You're too much of a loose cannon. We don't like you, Tom Cruise. We're going to do your mission, but worse." But then he comes in as a loose unit.
That's
He's
right.
probably the loosest unit in this movie.
Yeah.
No, he's not the goosest unit.
That's
but
very
he's
true.
the loosest.
Rooster's the goose's unit.
I think so. He is Goose's unit,
Yeah.
correct. But
He's come from goose's unit.
yes. So in showing that that run through the canyon and then dive and then hitting the target can be done, he then gets to fly the last mission, which is, of course, is what this whole thing was leading towards.
Yes, right.
But what I didn't expect was there's a very brief moment where he's shot down.
Yeah,
Very
right.
briefly.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I thought that was wonderful. Just seeing, like, what's this guy like on the ground?
Yeah.
Not as good.
Still all right, though.
Oh, he's still all right, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was fun, yeah.
It felt like, if you've ever seen Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson, it felt like that for a second.
I
for
don't
like
think I've
5
seen that.
minutes.
Oh, maybe I have seen that. Okay, yeah.
It was that
All right.
like
Yeah,
early
yeah.
2000s. But then having him and Miles Teller on the ground and then find that F-14.
Yeah.
I thought that was very cool.
That was cool stuff.
And then seeing him, and this bit must have been CGI. There's a moment where they're up in the sky and the two other stealth jets come next to them and they're doing the hand signals. And it's pretty funny in moments as well where Tom Cruise is like, I don't know what
Just
this hands-
completely blank fighters. No tail
No
call signs,
nothing.
no flags, no nothing.
Yeah,
The-
hand gestures from nowhere.
you can't see any element of their
right.
skin or face. The base has no flags on it.
And they run right across it. You don't see a goddamn thing.
All the enemy soldiers turn away.
Yes, that's right. 'Cause
They're all
shy.
reading big newspapers.
in their planes.
Yeah. I know they can't be reading newspapers because that would reveal where they're from.
where it's
yeah.
from. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes. But what was I going to say?
They're reading a Lonely Planet guide to China, so you know it's not China.
But giving him the older plane against these newer
Yeah.
planes, and you always know it's coming because they're like, even our planes, even the plane used to, it wouldn't even stand a chance. It's ridiculous. You would
Yeah.
never fly a plane like that now. That adds a sense of tension because he's the best fighter pilot
Yeah.
in the galaxy.
Yeah.
He even does the Death Star trench run in this
That's
a couple
true,
of
yeah.
times. But the moment where he just, I don't even know what the word is, where he banks and he just takes out one of them.
Yeah, immediately, yeah.
I thought that was just so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And I don't know whether this is a real maneuver. It probably isn't, but where that new stealth jet does that, like,
The engines
pretty much
just
like
turn off
like a
and it just-
handbrake turn in the
Yeah,
sky.
right.
And they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, some of that is, I imagine from a technical standpoint, if you know anything about flying. So what seemed to happen there is I think it just switched its engines off and then just dropped and then switched them back on again, which I imagine you can't do with
you shouldn't be allowed to do.
You shouldn't be
It's
allowed to do
rude.
it. But yeah, and right at the end I'm like, God, I'll be so happy if Hangman shows up because he's, Hangman's on the ground, he's been grounded,
He
and he
was
can't come back.
always
And I'm
coming.
like, this guy, come on, because he's learned. They're friends. They
friends now.
did double football.
Yeah, they did.
They played that game of double football and they became friends. And
I think
I'm like,
Hangman just wanted to kill as well. He didn't care.
That's true.
Like, I don't think he learnt anything.
No.
He was just like, I get to do a big kill. Mm-hmm. So Hangman comes in and it saves the day and whatever, and they all high five on a helicarrier. And helicarrier? No, that's from a different thing.
Yeah.
And then John Hamm goes, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
I'm not saying sorry.
I see.
Just to
John Hamm is
clarify,
saying
John Hamm
sorry,
said sorry for.
He said it. I mean, he said it with his face, not with his words.
That's right.
And then that manure fell on him.
It's in my mouth. This will never come out of my whites.
Yeah. Okay. If Tom Cruise said, "I'm going to bring back," I'm asking you, James.
Me?
I'm going to bring back one of my other movies with a sequel, a decades later sequel. What would you want?
Well, it's interesting, first of all, that Joe, what's the director of this? He did Tron Legacy, and he did the Tom Cruise movie Oblivion, which I really liked.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever seen Oblivion? It's from like 2011.
Is he wearing the white suit? He's in space. He's on an alien planet. or
Yeah,
something?
but he's on Earth. Yeah. Joseph Kosinski, yes.
There it is. Oh, he did Tron Legacy as well.
Tron Legacy.
That's that again. That's mixed reviews. Didn't do well financially.
Old sequels.
But they're calling them legacy quels now.
Oh, Legacy sequels.
Legacy quels.
Oblivion was 2013. I apologize, Mason.
Uh-huh.
But no, I thought he handled the whole thing very well. And of course, Tony Scott has passed away since. But my question to you, so what Tom Cruise movie comes back, do you say?
Yes.
What else does he do? What else has he done, Mason?
Vanilla Sky.
Yeah, I didn't mind Vanilla Sky. But
What about
what about Bob? The
What
TV
about
series?
Bob?
What about Made in America?
What about Eyes Wide Shut? And there's some sort of weird contractual thing where Nicole Kidman has to come back.
Oh,
also.
she'd love that.
She would love it.
What about Risky Business? And he's still
Even riskier
is
business.
I don't think he'd do that, would he?
What happened? Oh no, but here's the thing though. At the end of Risky Business, all their business has fallen apart. But isn't
It was
one
too
of-
risky.
It was too risky. But they're like, isn't Tom Cruise? He goes to the other character. He's like, how much money you got in your pocket? Oh, you got $5. Let's go and do another risky business.
That's how risky our business
so
can
maybe
be.
we could find out how risky that business was.
What about Edge of Tomorrow?
Oh,
They've been talking about that for a long time.
Yeah.
Now would probably be a good time to do that, actually. What about Minority Report? I would love to see another Minority. I mean, there was a show.
Yes.
What about Legend with Ridley Scott? Did you ever see that? Weird fantasy.
Well, I was just
Epic
thinking
of the
earlier
80s.
that Tom Cruise was in Legend and Jennifer Connelly was in Labyrinth.
Oh, yeah.
So that's fun. Bit of fun.
Both. Yeah, so you're saying they could both return as those characters.
I think they should both return as those characters.
What about Collateral prequel, but he looks younger because it'd have to be a prequel because he doesn't have grey hair.
And he's dead.
And that's why it's a prequel.
Oh, yeah, nice. That's cool.
What about Interview with the Vampire?
Oh.
That they did a sequel to that already.
Follow-up Interview with the Vampire?
Another Interview with the Vampire?
In this economy?
It doesn't really have any other kind of franchise. Maybe Days of Thunder. That was that a Tony Scott as well? I want to say it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cocktail 2.
Cocktail 2. Still cocking?
Still cooking.
Cocks up.
Yes.
Terrific.
Yep.
I don't know. What about this though? I think they're going to make another one of these.
You
I
think
don't
so?
think it's going to take as long.
Do you think Tom Cruise will be in it?
Yes. I think also the reason, he's talked about the reason it's taken so long is because, he was offered the chance to do it originally. And he's like, well, what would I do? Because we kind of did everything.
Yeah.
And I think leaving this amount of time has meant the technology has advanced enough that you can do something vastly interesting, vastly different, but I think vastly more interesting.
Oh
and
my God,
somewhat different.
imagine the twirls he could do these days in
with
Cocktail. Cocktail 2.
Oh my God.
Imagine the bottles he could twirl, you
He
know?
could twirl so many bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently he announced this on the Today Show, the Australian version, in 2000. He was in the year 2000. He went, "We're making Top Gun 2," but he couldn't quite figure it out. And he's also been apparently working towards this because of the helicopter stunts he did in the last Mission Impossible, and also American Made has a lot of actual flying in that because he is a pilot. Also,
Is that the one where he's a arms dealer?
A CIA drug dealing.
Oh,
man.
okay, right.
And also, that plane, he's got is it a Spitfire or Mustang that he has in this?
Mustang.
Yeah.
It's a World War II.
That's his plane.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw James Corden. He took James Corden up.
Oh, I didn't see that, no.
Yeah, I saw some of it and I went, yeah, I get it. Good stuff. Anyway, he seems very nice, but is he?
We don't know. There's no way of knowing.
There's been some very strange things.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But we'll see all of his movies, won't we?
We will see
I'll
all
see
of his
some
movies.
of his movies at least. Did you hear how he said he sees every movie? He
I did
goes
see
in
that.
disguise and sees every movie.
Now, I saw that. I love the fact that he goes in disguise.
I want follow-up questions.
Like what
name
disguises?
Name some movies you've seen recently.
Or name some disguises you've worn recently.
I think it's just a baseball cap.
Probably just be a baseball cap, wouldn't it?
But I'd say, tell me about Morbius. Because he said every movie.
But I also saw a follow-up, and maybe this was the internet making it up, but I think I saw a tweet that suggested somebody asked him about Morbius, and he said, I didn't see Morbius.
Okay.
So,
but there's a lot of Morbius discourse, and not all of it is true.
That's
at the
very
moment.
true, yeah.
There is. I saw a lot of people talking about how Sony might make a Morbius sequel because they'll take the wrong idea that people are interested.
Yeah.
'Cause there's always Morbius buzz happening.
There is.
Even though we shut it down very clearly.
We did. Well, we shut down Monthbius.
Yes.
I don't think we shut down talking about Morbius.
That is true. Anyways, Mason, what is it time for?
It's time for a segment we call What We Reading. What We Gonna Read.
He's right, everybody. I hate to admit it, but when he's right, he's right.